Echoes of Tomorrow. Chapter 1, A Glimpse of Tomorrow. In 2432, the Earth had transformed beyond the wildest dreams of its ancient dwellers. Towering above the remnants of a bygone era, the new eco-sustainable cities stood as monoliths of humanity's resilience and ingenuity. At the heart of this renaissance was Gaia, a global AI network, a testament to the pinnacle of technological evolution, governing with an algorithmic precision that had turned erstwhile chaotic metropolises into harmonious habitats for the human species. Dr. Alex Rivera, a figure of quiet solitude amidst the bustling vibrancy of the city, commenced the day like any other. Their apartment, a blend of minimalist design and cutting-edge technology, reflected the world outside, efficient, serene, yet somehow impersonal. As a renowned quantum physicist, Alex's true sanctuary was their lab, a place where the mysteries of the universe weren't just pondered but prodded and poked with the sharp end of science. Alex's work on temporal mechanics stood on the frontier of human knowledge, a beacon of hope in unraveling the cosmos's most tightly held secrets. But beneath the surface of academic pursuit, there was a more personal quest driving them, a desire to mend a fracture in their own timeline, a tragedy that had left an indelible mark on their soul. The lab was alive with the hum of machinery and the soft glow of holographic displays, each one a window into possibilities that bordered on the fantastical. Today was different. Today, Alex stood on the precipice of a breakthrough that could redefine humanity's understanding of time itself. With meticulous precision, Alex calibrated the instruments, their hands guided by years of expertise and a resolve that was palpable in the charged air of the lab. The theory was audacious, to send a message to the past, a beacon across the tempestuous seas of time. Such an endeavor was forbidden, a Pandora's box that the Temporal Oversight Commission, TOC, guarded against with unyielding vigilance. Yet, the potential to alter the course of events, to prevent the accident that had claimed their sibling's life, was a siren call Alex could no longer resist. The core of the experiment was the Quantum Entanglement Communicator, QEC, a device that, in theory, could encode a message into the very fabric of spacetime, sending it backward to a designated point in the past. The science was sound, Alex's calculations meticulous, but the act was one of defiance against the laws of nature and man. As Alex initiated the sequence, the lab was bathed in an ethereal light, the air vibrating with the power of unleashed quantum forces. The QEC's core spun into action, its components aligning with the precision of a cosmic dance, channeling the energy required to breach the temporal barrier. For a moment that stretched into eternity, Alex was a conduit between the past and the future, a lone figure standing against the tide of time. The message, a simple warning encoded within a quantum packet, was launched into the stream of time, destined for a past that had already unfolded. As the light dimmed and the hum of machinery faded, Alex stood in the silence of the lab, the weight of their actions settling in. They had done the unthinkable, reached across the gulf of years to whisper into the ear of the past. But at what cost? Outside, the world moved on, unaware of the ripples that had just been sent cascading through the fabric of reality. In the solitude of the lab, Alex pondered the enormity of their actions, the potential consequences of their defiance. They had sought to alter the past, but the future remained uncertain, its echoes reverberating into the unknown. Chapter 2, Shadows of the Past. The dawn light spilled over the horizon, casting long shadows across the ecostructures of the new Earth. But for Dr. Alex Rivera, the night had been endless, a vigil kept in the afterglow of defiance. The lab, now silent, was a stark contrast to the turmoil within Alex's mind. The quantum leap into the past was more than a scientific endeavor, it was a journey back to the darkest day of Alex's life. Alex's sibling, Jamie, had been more than family, they were a kindred spirit, a shared consciousness split into two beings. Their childhood, a tapestry of laughter and discovery, was a cherished memory in the otherwise clinical precision of Alex's world. The tragedy that tore Jamie from the fabric of the living had left a void in Alex that no accolade or discovery could fill. It was this unquenchable thirst for a second chance that had driven Alex to the brink of the impossible. As the city awoke, its inhabitants blissfully unaware of the tectonic shift that had just occurred in the annals of time, Alex ventured out. The streets, arteries of the living city, pulsed with the rhythm of daily life. Yet, for Alex, they were pathways back to a time of innocence and loss. The accident that had claimed Jamie's life was a cruel twist of fate, a random spark in the complex algorithm of existence. A malfunction in one of the automated transport pods had resulted in a catastrophic failure, a momentary glitch in the otherwise impeccable safety record of the new Earth. Jamie, vibrant and full of life, had been extinguished in an instant, a reminder of the fragility of human existence amidst the march of progress. Alex's journey to the past was not just a mission to save Jamie, it was an attempt to reconcile with the guilt that had shadowed every step since that fateful day. The question that haunted Alex was not just whether the past could be changed but whether it should be. The ethical quagmire of temporal intervention was a labyrinth with no clear exit, each path fraught with paradoxes and unintended consequences. In the solitude of their apartment, surrounded by the technological marvels that defined their existence, Alex pondered the duality of their quest. The same science that had robbed them of Jamie now offered a sliver of hope, a chance to undo the unchangeable. But the shadows of the past were long, and they clung to Alex like a shroud, a constant reminder of the cost of their pursuit. The decision to reach back through time was a declaration of war against the immutable laws of nature, a challenge to the universe itself. Yet, in the depths of Alex's soul, the choice had been made the moment Jamie's light had been snuffed out. The pursuit of redemption, to save Jamie from the jaws of fate, was a path fraught with peril, but it was one that Alex was willing to walk to the very end. As the day gave way to night, and the city settled into the quietude of the evening, Alex's resolve hardened. The shadows of the past may stretch far, but the light of hope, dim though it may be, remained a beacon guiding Alex forward. In the silent communion with the memories of Jamie, Alex found the strength to face the coming storm, to navigate the murky waters of temporal ethics, and to challenge the very fabric of reality in the name of love and loss. Chapter 3: The Watchers. As the new day dawned over the gleaming eco-cities, another kind of vigil was being kept in the shadowy recesses of power. The Temporal Oversight Commission, TOC, an entity as enigmatic as it was formidable, stood as the guardian of time's sanctity. At its helm was Director Helena Krieg, a woman whose presence commanded both respect and fear in equal measure. Director Krieg's office was a stark contrast to the world outside. It was a realm of darkness and light, where the weight of responsibility cast long shadows across the cold, minimalist design. Here, amidst the relics of time and the advanced technologies that monitored the temporal stream, Krieg waged a silent battle against the potential chaos unleashed by human ambition. Krieg was not just a custodian of time, she was its sentinel, a role she embraced with a fervor that bordered on zealotry. Her belief in the absolute control of temporal technologies was unshakable, forged in the crucible of past catastrophes that had threatened to unravel the fabric of reality itself. The TOC, under her command, operated in the shadows, monitoring anomalies in the timeline, ensuring that humanity's reach did not exceed its grasp. The revelation of Alex Rivera's unauthorized experiment sent shockwaves through the TOC's clandestine corridors. The breach was not just a violation of temporal protocols, it was a direct challenge to the order that Krieg had dedicated her life to preserve. The potential implications of Rivera's actions were cataclysmic, a Pandora's box of paradoxes that could tear at the seams of existence. Yet, for all her resolve, Krieg was not devoid of understanding. She knew the allure of the past, the seductive pull of what could be. She too had faced loss, had stared into the abyss of time, wishing for the power to rewrite history. It was this understanding that tempered her actions, that guided the TOC's response with a precision that mirrored the complexities of time travel itself. The decision to confront Rivera was not taken lightly. It was a calculated move, a demonstration of the TOC's omnipotence and a warning to those who dared defy the laws of time. Krieg's approach was methodical, each step designed to corner Rivera, to force them into the open where the full weight of temporal justice could be brought to bear. As Krieg prepared to leave for the confrontation, she paused, her gaze lingering on a photograph that lay on her desk. It was a simple image, a snapshot of a happier time, a reminder of the personal cost of her duty. With a sigh, she turned away, the weight of her role as the guardian of time settling heavily upon her shoulders. The streets of the city, alive with the pulse of morning, were oblivious to the drama unfolding in their midst. Krieg's convoy moved silently through the throng, a phantom presence heading towards an inevitable collision with destiny. Director Krieg's arrival at Rivera's lab was a moment of high tension. The air crackled with the anticipation of confrontation, a clash of ideologies and wills that would determine the future of temporal exploration. Krieg stepped into the lab, her presence filling the space, a titan of time facing down the audacity of human curiosity. The meeting between Krieg and Rivera was a dance of intellects, a battle of words and wills that ebbed and flowed with the gravity of their discourse. Krieg, with her unwavering conviction, and Rivera, driven by a personal quest, stood on opposite sides of an ethical chasm, each defending their vision of the future. Chapter 4, First Contact. In the clandestine silence of the early morning, as the city slumbered beneath the watchful gaze of Gaia, Dr. Alex Rivera initiated the experiment that would mark the first breach in the continuum of time. The lab, a crucible of rebellion against the immutable laws of nature, hummed with the anticipation of the unprecedented. Alex, standing at the threshold of history, was acutely aware of the gravity of the moment. This was no mere scientific endeavor. It was a personal crusade, a quest to reach back through the fabric of time and alter the course of a single life. The Quantum Entanglement Communicator, QEC, Alex's magnum opus, was a marvel of temporal engineering, its design born from the confluence of theory and desperation. As the device powered up, its core emanating a pulsating light that seemed to beat in sync with Alex's heart, the air in the lab thickened, charged with the potential of what was about to unfold. The message, encoded within a quantum packet, was simple yet profound, a warning to Alex's younger self about the accident that would claim Jamie's life. It was a beacon cast into the tumultuous sea of the past, a plea for intervention against the cruel whims of fate. The coordinates were set, the calculations double-checked, all that remained was to breach the veil that separated then from now. With a final, steadying breath, Alex initiated the transmission. The QEC word to life, its components aligning with the precision of a cosmic ballet, as it began to weave the message into the very essence of spacetime. The lab was awash with a kaleidoscope of lights, shadows dancing on the walls as reality itself seemed to bend in acquiescence to Alex's will. The moment the message was sent, an eerie calm settled over the lab. The QEC powered down, its task complete, leaving Alex in the silent aftermath of the quantum leap. The air felt different, as if charged with the echo of the monumental act that had just occurred. Alex stood alone, suspended in the liminal space between hope and consequence, pondering the immutable question, had it worked? Meanwhile, in the depths of the TOC's monitoring center, alarms shattered the nocturnal peace. The temporal anomaly triggered by Alex's experiment set off a cascade of alerts, drawing the immediate attention of Director Helena Krieg and her team. The breach was unmistakable, a ripple in the fabric of time that could not be ignored. Krieg, with her unwavering resolve, understood the implications at once. Someone had dared to defy the most sacrosanct of laws, to reach through time in a bid to alter its course. The identity of the perpetrator was yet unknown, but the audacity of the act spoke volumes. It was a declaration of war against the very principles the TOC had sworn to uphold. As the TOC mobilized, the city began to awaken, oblivious to the drama unfolding in the shadows of its gleaming spires. Alex, too, was unaware of the storm that was brewing on the horizon. The aftermath of the experiment was a time of anxious waiting, a pause in the narrative that was fraught with tension and uncertainty. The initial confrontation between Alex and the TOC, when it came, was a collision of worlds. Krieg, embodying the might of temporal law, and Alex, the personification of human defiance, found themselves locked in a struggle that was as much about ideology as it was about the fate of the timeline. Chapter 5, Collision Course. The air was thick with anticipation, charged with the remnants of the quantum leap that had momentarily pierced the veil of time. Dr. Alex Rivera, standing amidst the silent sentinels of technology that populated the lab, felt the weight of the universe's gaze, a scrutinizing eye that seemed to question the morality of the defiance just enacted. The QEC, now dormant, lay at the heart of this storm, its purpose served yet its consequences unfurling like dark wings on the horizon. As the city outside pulsed with the rhythm of daily life, unbeknownst to its inhabitants, a different kind of pulse had been detected in the undercurrents of time, a ripple that had set the Temporal Oversight Commission, TOC, on a direct collision course with Alex. The TOC, with Director Helena Krieg at the helm, was an institution born out of necessity, a guardian against the tempestuous power of temporal manipulation. Krieg, a woman of steel and shadows, was no stranger to confrontation, yet the audacity of the breach commanded a response of unprecedented scale. The confrontation was inevitable, a clash not just of wills but of ideologies. For Alex, the experiment was a beacon of hope, a chance to right a wrong that had haunted them for a lifetime. For Krieg, it was an existential threat, a breach of the natural order that could unravel the fabric of reality itself. The moment Director Krieg stepped into Alex's lab, it was as if two worlds collided. Her presence filled the space, an embodiment of authority and control. Her gaze, sharp and penetrating, sought out Alex, who met it with a defiance born of desperation and loss. Dr. Rivera, Krieg began, her voice a cold draft in the warm hum of the lab, you stand accused of violating the Temporal Non-Interference Act. Do you understand the gravity of your actions? Alex, whose life had been dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge, to the unraveling of the universe's mysteries, found themselves at a loss for words. How could they explain that the experiment was more than scientific curiosity, that it was a bid to heal a wound that time itself had inflicted? I was trying to save my sibling, Alex finally said, the words heavy with emotion. The laws of time be damned. My actions were born of love, not hubris. Krieg, unmoved by the personal plea, retorted, love cannot be an excuse for endangering the very fabric of our reality. Your actions, however well-intentioned, have consequences that extend far beyond your personal tragedies. The standoff in the lab was more than a dispute over regulations, it was a fundamental disagreement on the nature of time and humanity's place within it. Krieg, with the full weight of the TOC behind her, represented a world that feared the unknown, that sought to control and contain the infinite variables of existence. Alex, in contrast, embodied the spirit of exploration, the belief that humanity's reach should exceed its grasp, that the stars and the past were not limits but frontiers. As the confrontation unfolded, it became clear that there was no common ground to be found, no bridge to span the chasm between them. Krieg, with the authority of her position, issued a stark ultimatum: cease all temporal experiments or face the full force of the law. The tension in the lab was palpable, a tangible force that seemed to slow the passage of time itself. In the end, Krieg departed, leaving Alex to contemplate the enormity of the situation. The TOC's response had been swift and decisive, a clear indication that the path ahead was fraught with danger. Yet, as Alex stood alone in the aftermath of Krieg's visit, they knew that the journey was far from over. The experiment had been a call to the past, a message of hope sent across the divide of years. The response, when it came, would determine the course of the future. Chapter 6, The Alliance. In the aftermath of Director Krieg's departure, the lab felt like a battleground, the air still vibrating with the echoes of their ideological clash. Dr. Alex Rivera, alone in the midst of scattered holograms and the dormant quantum entanglement communicator, QEC, was a figure carved from resolve and desperation. The confrontation with Krieg had laid bare the monumental risks of Alex's quest, yet it had also crystallized a singular truth: the journey could not be walked alone. The decision to form an alliance was born from necessity as much as strategy. Alex understood that the path forward required not just brilliance in the field of temporal mechanics but a multifaceted team capable of navigating the scientific, ethical, and logistical challenges that lay ahead. This realization marked the beginning of a new chapter, a rallying of minds united by a shared vision of defying the temporal status quo. The recruitment process was discreet, a series of clandestine meetings under the guise of academic collaboration. Each potential member was chosen for their expertise and, more importantly, for their capacity to dream beyond the confines of the present. First to join was Dr. Lena Zhou, a theoretical physicist whose work on the fringes of spacetime topology had skirted the edges of heresy in the eyes of the establishment. Her brilliance was matched only by her courage, and in her, Alex found a kindred spirit, someone who understood the allure of the impossible. Next was Marco Silva, an engineer whose genius with quantum computing systems had revolutionized the way humanity interfaced with technology. Marco's pragmatic approach to problem-solving and his unwavering loyalty to his friends made him an invaluable asset to the team. Rounding out the group was Aisha Khan, young but fiercely intelligent ethicist. Her inclusion was a nod to the moral complexity of their endeavor. Aisha's role was to navigate the ethical minefields of their work, ensuring that their pursuit of the past did not blind them to the consequences of their actions on the future. Together, they formed a clandestine council of temporal dissenters, meeting in the shadow of night, their discussions a tapestry of theories and conjectures that stretched the boundaries of imagination. The lab, once a solitary haven, became a crucible of collaboration, where ideas sparked and fused in the pursuit of a common goal. The Alliance's first task was to refine the QEC, to ensure that any future attempts to breach the temporal barrier would be precise, controlled, and, above all, undetectable by the TOC. Marco's expertise was instrumental in this phase, his innovations in quantum encryption promising a veil of secrecy over their operations. Lena, with her deep understanding of the fabric of spacetime, worked closely with Alex to map the theoretical underpinnings of their mission. Their discussions, often stretching into the early hours of the morning, were a testament to the intellectual synergy that drove the team forward. Aisha, for her part, was the voice of conscience, a constant reminder of the ethical dimensions of their work. Her insights into the potential ramifications of altering the past were a grounding force, ensuring that the team's ambition was matched by a sense of responsibility. As the weeks turned into months, the Alliance grew closer, bound by the shared secrecy of their mission and the palpable sense of anticipation that surrounded their work. Their meetings, once filled with cautious optimism, became charged with the urgency of impending action. Yet, even as they prepared to challenge the very fabric of time, the shadow of the TOC loomed large. Krieg's warning was a specter that haunted their every move, a reminder that their quest was not just a battle against the constraints of science but a defiance of the powers that sought to keep the past locked away. Chapter 7, Leap into the Unknown. Under the cloak of darkness, the lab transformed into a hive of quiet activity, a stark contrast to the stillness that enveloped the city. Dr. Alex Rivera and their clandestine council of temporal dissenters stood on the precipice of a new dawn, the air thick with anticipation and the weight of uncharted possibilities. The Quantum Entanglement Communicator, QEC, once a silent witness to solitary defiance, now hummed with renewed purpose, ready to breach the temporal veil with precision and stealth. The team's collective efforts had culminated in this moment, a second attempt to alter the fabric of time, this time armed with the innovations and insights born of their unique collaboration. Marco's encryption algorithms pulsed through the QEC, a digital shroud to mask their endeavor from the ever-watchful eyes of the TOC. Lena's theoretical frameworks provided the roadmap, a guide through the twisting mazes of spacetime. And Aisha's ethical compass ensured that their actions, though bold, remained anchored in a deep sense of responsibility to the future. As the hour approached, Alex stood before the team, a silent acknowledgement of the journey they had undertaken together. This was more than a scientific experiment, it was a testament to human resilience, to the indomitable spirit that dared to dream of rewriting history for the sake of love and redemption. The plan was audacious in its simplicity and execution. A targeted message, refined and encoded with the details of the accident that had claimed Jamie's life, would be sent back to a precise moment, a window of opportunity to prevent the tragedy without unraveling the wider fabric of time. The stakes were monumental, not just for Alex and their personal quest, but for the very nature of temporal science. Success could redefine humanity's relationship with time, failure could cast them into the abyss of obscurity, or worse, into the punitive grasp of the TOC. With a nod from Alex, Marco initiated the sequence, his fingers dancing over the controls with practiced ease. The lab's atmosphere electrified, the air shimmering with the power of unleashed quantum forces. Lena monitored the temporal coordinates, her focus unwavering, while Aisha stood by, a steady presence in the whirlwind of activity. The QEC began its work, the core emitting a pulsating light that grew in intensity, a beacon across time. Alex's heart raced, each beat a drum of hope and fear, as they watched the culmination of their life's work unfold before their eyes. Then, with the suddenness of a breaking storm, the light peaked, casting long shadows across the lab, before fading into a serene glow. The QEC powered down, its task complete, leaving a silence that was both profound and pregnant with questions. Had the message found its mark? Had they indeed altered the course of time, or had their efforts been in vain, a mere whisper lost in the cacophony of history? In the days that followed, the team waited with bated breath for any sign of change, any indication that their leap into the unknown had borne fruit. The world outside continued its relentless march forward, oblivious to the drama that had unfolded within the confines of the lab. Alex struggled with the uncertainty, not knowing whether their message had reached the past and whether Jamie's fate had been averted. It was a limbo of their own making, a space between hope and despair where time itself seemed to hold its breath. Meanwhile, the TOC, ever vigilant, remained unaware of the clandestine operation that had taken place under their noses. Director Krieg continued her watchful guard over the temporal stream, unaware that the very fabric she sought to protect had been subtly, yet irrevocably, altered. Chapter 8, The Showdown. The lab, once a sanctuary of hope and defiance, had transformed into a crucible of tension as the days melded into one another, each passing moment a test of patience and resolve. Dr. Alex Rivera and their team, bound by the secret of their audacious attempt to rewrite history, found themselves in a state of suspended anticipation, the outcome of their endeavor a whisper in the wind, elusive and intangible. Outside the confines of their clandestine world, the city beat with the pulse of unaware millions, its rhythm untouched by the undercurrents of a silent temporal revolution. Yet, this veil of normalcy was about to be torn asunder, as forces beyond the control of Alex and their allies began to converge upon their sanctuary. Unbeknownst to them, the Temporal Oversight Commission, TOC, under the steely gaze of Director Helena Krieg, had detected an anomaly, a faint echo in the fabric of time, a shadow of the ripple they had worked so hard to conceal. With the precision of a seasoned predator, Krieg and her operatives had traced the disturbance to its source, leading them to the very heart of Alex's operation. The day of reckoning arrived with the breaking dawn, a symphony of light that heralded the onset of the storm. Krieg, flanked by her team of temporal agents, stood at the threshold of the lab, their presence a dark cloud over the horizon of Alex's hopes. The confrontation that ensued was not merely a clash of wills but a battle for the soul of temporal science. Krieg, embodying the unyielding stance of the TOC, demanded accountability and cessation of all unauthorized temporal activities. Her voice, cold and resonant, carried the weight of law and the threat of severe repercussions. Alex, standing defiant amidst their team, met Krieg's demands with a fervor born of desperation and conviction. They argued for the necessity of their actions, the potential for temporal science to heal as well as harm, and the inherent right of humanity to explore all possibilities of existence, even those that span the breadth of time. The lab, a silent witness to this historic standoff, seemed to hold its breath as the two forces collided, an immovable object meeting an unstoppable force. Krieg, unmoved by Alex's passionate defense, initiated a lockdown, her agents moving in with the efficiency of a well-oiled machine, their intent clear: to dismantle the operation and neutralize the threat posed by the QEC. But fate, ever capricious, had one more card to play. As the standoff reached its zenith, a sudden and unexpected anomaly pulsed through the lab, a manifestation of the QEC's tampering with the fabric of time. Reality itself seemed to warp, a visual and sensory distortion that halted everyone in their tracks. In that moment of chaos, where past and present blurred, a window of opportunity opened. Alex and their team, leveraging the confusion, initiated a countermeasure, a last-ditch effort to protect their work and evade capture. The lab, equipped for such an emergency, became a labyrinth of quantum fields and temporal shields, a maze designed to disorient and delay. The showdown in the lab, a ballet of motion and strategy, was a testament to the lengths to which individuals will go to protect their beliefs and the future they seek to create. Krieg, relentless in her pursuit of order, and Alex, a champion of the potential for change, found themselves locked in a struggle that transcended personal vendettas, embodying the greater conflict between control and freedom, between the known and the unknowable. As the anomaly subsided and reality settled back into its familiar contours, the outcome of the confrontation remained uncertain, a question mark hanging over the future of temporal exploration. The lab, once a beacon of hope, now stood as a battleground, its fate and that of its occupants hanging in the balance, a poignant reminder of the cost of reaching beyond the veil of time. Chapter 9: Echoes and Repercussions. In the aftermath of the showdown, the lab lay in a state of eerie quietude, a stark juxtaposition to the frenetic chaos that had preceded. The quantum distortions had ceased, leaving behind a tangible sense of dislocation, as if the very essence of the place had been altered, touched by the unseen hands of potential futures. Dr. Alex Rivera and their team, through a combination of ingenuity and sheer will, had managed to evade the immediate grasp of Director Helena Krieg and the Temporal Oversight Commission, TOC, but the victory, if it could be called that, was Pyrrhic at best. The air was heavy with the residue of quantum fluctuations, a lingering reminder of the forces that had been unleashed in the heat of confrontation. Alex, standing amidst the remnants of their life's work, felt a profound sense of disorientation, the ground beneath their feet unstable, as if reality itself was uncertain, undecided. The team, once united by a shared vision of temporal defiance, now found themselves adrift in the aftermath, the bonds of their alliance tested by the enormity of what they had attempted. Marco Silva, his face a mask of exhaustion and resolve, worked tirelessly to secure the lab's systems, to erase any trace of their activities that might lead the TOC back to their doorstep. Lena Zhou, her eyes reflecting the depth of her intellect and the weight of their choices, pored over the data, searching for any sign of their message's impact on the timeline. And Aisha Khan, the moral compass of their endeavor, sat in contemplative silence, wrestling with the ethical implications of their actions, the potential ripples of consequence that might spread unseen across the fabric of history. Director Krieg, thwarted but undeterred, regrouped her forces, the setback a catalyst for renewed determination. The TOC, under her command, intensified their efforts, the hunt for Alex and their team a matter of principle as much as duty. The showdown in the lab had revealed the depth of the threat posed by unsanctioned temporal experimentation, a threat Krieg was resolved to neutralize, whatever the cost. In the days that followed, the city, oblivious to the undercurrents of temporal descent, continued its rhythmic dance of life, a stark contrast to the shadow world in which Alex and their allies now operated. The public facade of normalcy belied the turmoil that churned beneath, a turmoil that had begun to manifest in subtle, yet undeniable, anomalies, ripples of change that hinted at the success of their endeavor, at the message that had breached the barriers of time. Alex, caught between hope and despair, sought solace in the lab, in the sanctum of their rebellion. The silence of the place was a balm, a space to think, to plan, to dream. The possibility that they had altered the past, that Jamie's fate had been rewritten, was a beacon in the darkness, a flicker of light in the vast expanse of uncertainty. Yet, with each passing day, the reality of their situation grew more acute, the knowledge that their actions had set them on a collision course with forces beyond their control. The TOC, with Director Krieg at its vanguard, represented a formidable adversary, an institution vested with the power to dictate the boundaries of temporal exploration. The team, once buoyed by the thrill of the unknown, now faced the repercussions of their leap into the temporal abyss. The echoes of their actions, the reverberations of the message sent across time, had begun to manifest in ways they could not have predicted, altering the fabric of their reality in small, yet significant, ways. Chapter 10, Towards a New Dawn. In the wake of the quantum storm, the world had subtly shifted, its familiar contours tinged with the hues of change. The lab, once the epicenter of defiance, now stood silent, a testament to the audacity of hope and the relentless pursuit of redemption. Dr. Alex Rivera, emerging from the crucible of confrontation, found themselves at the nexus of past and future, the architect of a new reality forged in the fires of temporal descent. The immediate threat of the Temporal Oversight Commission, TOC, had receded, not through force but through the unforeseen consequences of their actions. Director Helena Krieg, a formidable adversary bound by duty and conviction, had been forced to acknowledge the irrevocable nature of the change that had been wrought. The anomalies that rippled through the fabric of time, subtle yet undeniable, bore witness to the success of Alex's endeavor. Jamie's fate had been altered, the tragedy that had set Alex on their path had been averted, a shadow erased from the timeline. Yet, victory was not without cost. The world into which Alex and their team emerged was one of altered realities and shifted perspectives. The lab, their sanctuary of innovation and rebellion, was compromised, its secrets laid bare to the scrutiny of the TOC. In the aftermath, Alex made the decision to disband their alliance, each member retreating into the shadows, their bond sealed by the shared experience of having touched the untouchable. Director Krieg, in the aftermath of the confrontation, found herself at a crossroads, the certainties that had guided her actions eroded by the realization of time's malleable nature. The TOC, under her leadership, initiated a period of introspection, a re-evaluation of their mandate in light of the events that had transpired. The pursuit of Alex and their team was suspended, not out of defeat but in acknowledgement of the need for a new paradigm, one that accommodated the complexities of temporal manipulation. Alex, for their part, withdrew from the world of temporal science, the price of their quest a burden they chose to bear in solitude. The knowledge that Jamie lived, free from the specter of tragedy, was a balm to their soul, a beacon of light in the darkness of their exile. Yet, the echoes of their actions, the ripples of change they had initiated, lingered, a constant reminder of the power and peril of reaching beyond the bounds of time. In the quiet aftermath, the city continued its ceaseless rhythm, the inhabitants unknowing participants in a reality that had been subtly reshaped. Alex, moving through the streets, felt the weight of unseen eyes, the gaze of a future they had helped to forge. The lab, once a hub of innovation and defiance, stood empty, a shell of its former self, its legacy a question mark written across the annals of time. The story of Alex Rivera and their team became a legend whispered in the corridors of temporal science, a tale of courage, sacrifice, and the indomitable human spirit. Their journey, a testament to the belief that the past is not a chain that binds us, but a canvas upon which we can paint the future.